Chris Mannix is here. You can read him on Sports Illustrated. You can listen to his podcast. What's the podcast called? Open Floor still?
Open Floor, yeah.
Open Floor. Where was that on the title list as you were coming up with title names? Is it the top one? Were like two taken?
Yeah.
Titles are so hard now.
Yeah, I think this was back I started that podcast before I left for Yahoo. So it was back then.
Wow.
Let's just call it basketball or something like that.
They're like, no, got to keep going. Speaking of basketball, an 8-episode HBO drama could be written about the Celtics sale, where we found out today $6.1 million to somebody that 12 hours ago, nobody knew who he was. I mean, probably some rich people knew who he was. People knew he was the final bidder, but now Bill Chisholm is going to be the next owner of the Boston Celtics. He paid a record price. It was not an accident where Washington, the Commanders, went for 6.05. Celtics go for 6.1. I have a million thoughts, but what was your immediate reaction to the price?
Astonished. I didn't believe they would get over 6. Look, that's a record. That's a huge number regardless. But the fact that you're just selling the team and you're not selling an arena, that is a huge variable in all this. When Matt Ishbia bought Phoenix for a $4 billion valuation, he was getting the arena with it. He was getting, for whatever it's worth, a WNBA team with it. You're just getting the Boston Celtics here. And yeah, it's an iconic franchise, but it's a franchise that is cost a lot of money, is set to have the highest payroll ever, next year. You're taking on something with a lot of bills. So I guess my first reaction was bravo to H. Irving Grousbeck and the lawyers that he hired to sell this team, because I really believe that he got the absolute maximum value that is possible to extract from the Celtics at this point. So I give him, that was my first reaction. Wow, they got a price that I didn't believe they were going to get.
My first reaction, because I love being right, was I was saying last summer that this was going to get to 6, and that's what the NBA wanted. And guess what? It got to 6. I think that was a huge thing for the NBA with the expansion coming. 6 has to be the number. That's what we want. I think it was a big thing for the family, especially Irv, the 90-year-old legend, who was not going to have any sort of inside job. There's a whole Steve Pagliuca, who's the number 2 owner of the Celtics right now, that everybody assumed he was going to get it. And I can't wait to dive into that piece with you. Mm-hmm. It was made clear from the beginning, there's no inside job. This will go to the highest bidder. The most money wins this. And nobody really believed it, but that's how it played out, and got to 6-1. And my guess is that the Pagliuca group, and maybe even one or two of the other ones, got to the 6. The 0.1 is so fascinating to me. The 0.1, sometimes this is how it goes. This is how Larry Ellison lost the Warriors, where it's like, no, he had it. Then the other side, I think, went to, I forget what it was, 400, 360, whatever it was. And he's like, nope, that's my final offer. And he didn't get it. And over and over again, the guys that get these teams are the ones that are like, oh, you want to break the Washington record? All right. 0.1, done. And that was it. That's how he got it. So the Steve Pagliuca piece is incredible, that he didn't get it and that he came really close. And he did a long post today that was posted on social media. That was, I think, one of the strangest posts I've ever read from somebody who didn't own a team. I couldn't believe he did that.
I would call that corporate scorched earth, right? It's not scorched earth like Dan Gilbert on LeBron, but it's corporate scorched earth, where I thought the most telling part of that was it 5-paragraph statement that he released was at the very end of, I think it was the first paragraph, where he noted that he had put together a group of investors that were eager to continue to reinvest in the team. I think the last sentence was luxury tax be damned. What Steve Pagliuca is doing there is he is planting the seed to be on the other side of future Celtic fan outrage. Because we all know there are some tough decisions that this ownership group is going to have to make in the next couple of years. Sam Hauser makes $10 million right now. In real dollars, though, that's like $80 million he's making. He's costing this team. There are decisions that they're going to have to make. What Steve Pagliuca, in my mind, did with that statement was just put himself in a position where if this team does cut some corners over the next couple of years, lop off some salaries, he can sit there and be like, you know what? I would have done that. I put together a group of guys that weren't going to do that. Like, he set himself up. We can get into the dynamics there of
we're doing it right now.
Group. Okay. This
is the number one thing I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
Well, it's just, so you have these two guys. Wyc's dad puts up the most money for the team. Wyc's the one that's organizing the group. And it starts out, I think, with 4 people that put up the money. They get the price. And then their job after they get the price is to then go find a group of minority people to then offload some of the money they just committed to, which, by the way, that's what Chisholm's doing right now. Mm. He's already put the feelers out. He's trying to put together a little syndicate to offload some of the money that he's already promised. So that's in motion now. So they get the 4, but Pags was like, Wyc, and he's the owner, and the dad put up the most money, but also here's Pags. And they've had this uneasy co-owner alliance, but Wyc was always the face of it. And it was always a little awkward, and you could feel it when there was like a trophy. You know, that's when the Lazary and Edens had that too. Some of these co-owner, like Goober and Lacob, same thing, where it's like, it's my team, but you have to be here. And let's hold the trophy together. And it's always super awkward. And I don't know how great it was going by the end, because I think when Pagliuca tried to buy the Nets, and I don't think Wyc found out from Pagliuca, is my understanding, and I don't think it's been great since then. And I think the reverse of that was Pagliuca found out that the Celtics were being sold the same way we all did. He was not tipped. He was not given a heads up. So I don't think that relationship has been great for the last year. And this specifically, the way he reacted to the sale tells me that this is going to get ugly. And I have some reasons for why this got bad near the end. But what else have you heard on this?
I've seen it unfold over the last 20 years, and you can unequivocally say it was a lot stronger at the beginning than it was at the end.
Yeah.
And some of that has everything to do with what you said there. Like, Pagliuca is in this kind of with his own cash to what, I don't know what the final percentage is that he owned of this group. I heard around 8 or 9%, something in that ballpark. And he's looking at Wyc Grousbeck, who owns a lesser percent of the team, but is effectively H. Irving in all of this. Like, he is the money guy. He gets to be the face of it. And you're right. There have been some moments over the last 6-7 years as this team has ascended into conference finals, NBA finals, ultimately championships, where, you know, they're not exactly pulling the trophy kind of away from each other, but you can see some of that tension between those two guys. And look, I don't know about you, but I had been hearing for months now that, you know, through Pagliuca, it's kind of telegraphing this to people in the NBA, that he believed he was going to get it. Like, it eventually was going to play out, that he was going to get control of this team. It might take a little bit longer than people expected, but he was ultimately going to grab control of this team. And you can just tell from that statement that he's furious, that he is completely bullshit right now, that he is not going to be the majority owner of the Celtics.
Well, so I think from what I had heard, that he had the money to get to 5, which was where they were hoping it was going to be in the 5s, because that's a realistic price for a franchise that doesn't have an arena.
Yeah.
The Grousbeck side wanted more. They wanted more. They're pushing the number up. And I think one of the ways this really went sideways, there was a moment in this process where stuff was getting leaked out about the sale, and there was an unflattering piece about, you know, that it came out, and I don't even know what Wyc's exact stake is, but how small Wyc's stake allegedly was with the Celtics, and they're shooting too high, and there was stuff, and I don't think that went great for Pags, and whatever he may have done or not done, and maybe he did nothing. But I think there was a feeling that somebody was trying to neg the price and make it lower to try to make it. And I think you look at 90-year-old Irv Grousbeck, who's like one of the great business people of the last, like really respected as a thinker, and he's tutored a bunch of people, and he's a mentor to a lot of people, and he's rich for a reason. And I don't think it went over very well. That stuff started coming out that they wanted too much for the team. Because ultimately, who's saying that? It's like the Fenway Group, who I don't think ever was going to try to do it anyway, or somebody that was already actively trying to buy the team, and there weren't a lot of people at that point. So I think from the moment that happened, when those stories came out, it started to get dicey. And there's a lot of people in the organization who are rooting for him to get it because he was stability. It's like if he comes in, everything will remain the same. And I think when that happened, people started getting nervous.
I would say too, Bill, like there were people rooting for him to get it. I do think
I was kind of rooting for him too, because I wanted things to stay somewhat the same.
I do think there were also people rooting for him not to get it though. Like, I think there was a faction there that didn't want to get it, in part because all the stuff he's saying now, and I'm sure he would have said it if he had gotten control of the team. I'm not sure everybody believes him, right? Like, I don't know that everybody believes that he would be the guy to just pour money into this team to keep it a championship contender throughout the Tatum Brown era. Like, they just didn't believe him. Like, he's got allies within the organization, but I think he also has people that are not as fond of him inside the organization. So I think it was kind of a mixed bag there. I also don't necessarily know, because like even though there was kind of a whittled down list of finalists, there were a lot of people trying to buy this team and trying to get into the mix for this team. And there were a lot of people, and I heard this through NBA, and the NBA stayed connected to the sale process. And I was hearing through those sources, like, that people were kind of grumbling over, like, how are you asking for this when you're not giving us an arena and it's just a team and all the money we're going to have to spend so there was a lot of people frustrated with the price. And I think it's just as likely that some of that stuff about Wyc leaked out from someone not named Steve Pagliuca as it was that it was.
That's why we don't know how it leaked out or what happened, but I think once it happened, it changed the tenor of this whole thing, where they were like, okay, fuck all you people. Now we're going to get the price we want. And you mentioned like there were a lot of people kicking the tires on it. You know, it was double figures. It got whittled down to 5. Lori was in it, the Eagles owner, and then for whatever reason dropped out right after the Super Bowl, or before the Super Bowl, right around the Super Bowl. I think it was after, who knows. But it went from 5 to 4. And Chisholm was the mystery guy to me. Even if you were Googling him today, there just isn't a lot of information about him. He's grew up on the North Shore, went to Dartmouth. His son plays soccer at Dartmouth and graduated at 19. He's on this like weird tech fund, hedge fund thing, and he's apparently a huge Celtics fan. And that's all we know. But this is why it's so amazing when somebody buys a team like the Celtics. You go from, I could walk by you and have no idea who you are, to now you're one of the kings of Boston. And I think Wyc's had a really hard time with that over the last year, knowing that there's some end game where when you're the owner of the Celtics, the room treats you a little differently than when you're not. And I think he's aware of that.
Which, leads into this idea that he's going to be, the governor of this team for the next 3 years, which I believe is going to be the case, because I believe it's going to be codified in the sale agreement. Like, this is not going to be kind of whatever handshake deal Mark Cuban had with, Patrick Dumont and the Adelson family. Like, I think Wyc's going to have.
Did he have any deal?
No, he didn't have any deal there. That's kind of what the problem was. Like, Cuban went into the sale thinking, all right, well, they're going to let me do this. And all of a sudden, very quickly, it was determined that he wasn't. I do think, even if it's nominal, we're going to get Wyc Grousbeck as one of the front-facing owners of this team for the next 3 years. Now, I think there are going to be problems with that, because if you're the guy footing the bill for the franchise, you're not going to have key decisions being made by someone that's got one foot out the door. Like, I think that there are certainly potential problems with that. But I think, look, Wyc, all along, I've thought that Wyc wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He would not be selling this team if he wasn't being forced to by his family. But because he was being forced to, he wanted to make sure that there was top dollar involved in the return, and that he would get to hold on to his place atop of the totem pole as long as humanly possible. And it sure looks like right now that's what he's going to get. Like, I had some people texting me today, basically saying, don't be surprised if you see Wyc kind of take some of the money that he's going to get off this and try to get back into the ownership group as a minority owner, slice of it, to stay kind of connected to this team. So I don't think, look, he's not going to be running the team forever, but I don't think Wyc Grousbeck is going anywhere anytime soon.
So his statement, and it was funny because they released this statement from Boston Business Partners, which is the group that owns the team. Wyc's the first quote in it. And he says that Chisholm asked me to run the team as CEO and governor for the first 3 years and stay on as his partner. stay on as his partner. And I'm glad to do so. And then the next paragraph is a quote from Chisholm. I've never seen somebody buy a team and not be the first quote in the press release. Everybody was saying Wyc was trying to do this, and it seems like he actually pulled it off. And you mentioned the Cuban piece. I never believed it as it was happening. It seemed inconceivable to me that somebody was going to buy a sports team and then just lets somebody who didn't own that. We just don't see that really happen ever. And the times we've seen it happen were like Pat Croce and the Sixers. You be the government, and then it would always go badly within a year. So it says 3 years. It doesn't mean it's going to be 3 years. So if I gave you like the FanDuel over under and I gave you the 2.5, like boxing, 2.5 rounds, would you go over under? If you gave me 2.5 for the over under, I don't know what I'd bet.
I go under. I just think there's too many big decisions that are made by a team governor. And I think, Chisholm and his ownership group is going to be the ones making that decision. Now, maybe there's synergy between the two. Maybe there's no space between them, no room for daylight. They're all in lockstep. But the second they disagree on something, it's going to be Chisholm that says, it's my team. Do what you want. You want to stay in this capacity as a front-facing owner, as the governor of the team, fine. But we're doing things my way. And I don't blame him. You're putting up a valuation of $6 billion.
Of course he should have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's Chisholm.
Okay.
No, I don't know how are you saying it?
I'm kind of
saying
so
little about this guy. I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
This is the thing.
I thought it was Chisholm.
I'm kind of saying it in a Massachusetts way, though. Like we both kind of are there. Like if I see that name, I call him Chisholm.
Can he put a social media thing on and be like, here's how to pronounce my name. Please call me Bill. I refuse to believe his name's William. It's got to be Bill. His son's name's Will, which tells me he's a Bill. So here's one of the many things that I don't get about this. For that kind of price, and you're not going to, quote unquote, be the governor for the first 3 years. I mean, now he's in his mid-50s. He graduated from Dartmouth in 91. So this is prime NBA owner, NFL owner range, like from mid-50s all the way through to mid-70s, a 20-year run. He's got the son. I have no idea if the son's going to be groomed to have a role. With Pagliuca, his son, I think, would have been a big part of it. We'll see with this. Same thing with if Laurie had gotten it. I think his son would have been a big part of it. I just find it hard to believe you're going to buy this team, do the victory lap, do the press conference, figure out where your tickets are, have these huge decisions like, oh my God, if we get bounced in round 2 of the playoffs, we're losing a shitload of money on top of this $200 million luxury tax bill that's coming. Let me just turn over all the decision-making to Wyc. That seems crazy. And we haven't really seen it happen in anything else. So I'm like you. I'm watching it.
I'm skeptical. There's too many personnel decisions, financial decisions to just fork over to somebody that's eventually going to sell you the rest of the team or whatever it is in a period of time. I think it can last for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, but eventually something's going to come up to cause fissures between these two sides. There's just too much money at stake for me to believe that it's going to be this lasting, fruitful relation. Now, I do think though, Bill, like I don't know that the new ownership group really had much of a choice with all this. Like I think it was presented this way, like, all right, we'll say the team, but you got to take all this with you. Like, if you don't take this, we'll go to option B. We have other offers on the table. Like you saw, it was the Globe story back in January. There's 4 finalists. Like, there were people that wanted this team. And I'm sure that Wyc leveraged that and used that to his advantage. Say, all right, if you want to buy this team, you're going to put up the $6.1 billion valuation, but you're also going to agree to X, Y, and Z. And I think that's what they were kind of forced to stomach in order to gain control of this team.
So some of the questions that are left was this the highest offer? Which I'm going to assume it was.
Had to be.
But he's doing a lot of debt and all this stuff to whereas, like, because I thought it was notable, Pagliuca said in this thing, we had a real offer. He sounded like a guy who didn't get the house he thought he was going to get. It's like, I had a real offer. I offered you all cash. I don't understand why you went with this other person. They didn't even offer you all cash. I don't understand the Wyc part at all. And there's another piece of this too. And I'm sure you've been around the team a lot. Like he's pretty devastated that they're selling in the first place. And he's talked about it pretty openly to people that ask him about it. And it's been a theme that has been going around the last couple months, that his dad pushed for this. His dad wanted to do it for the estate planning, all the stuff they said. But I think especially with winning the title last year, the team being really good this year, I think Wyc's had a really hard time with this, even harder than maybe he's let on publicly. So do you staying on now for 2 more years, but knowing that there's an end game, it's a really weird variable. I'm excited because he's a great owner, and I hope he stays on and has the same impact he had. But it's weird. I feel bad. It's weird to feel bad for somebody who just sold something for $6.1 billion, but I just don't think he wanted to sell. I don't.
He absolutely did not want to sell. This was his father, and we've covered this ad nauseum, but like his father, recognizing his own mortality and figuring it's better to get your affairs in order with cash and not with the Boston Celtics. Like that's right. That's why. I wonder if over the next couple of years that Wyc would come to appreciate the foresight of his father here. Like, I think he's getting out at exactly the right time. Like, think about what you accomplished in the 23 years you owned the Boston Celtics. You won 2 championships. You put together 2 kind of mini dynasties, the one from the 08 to 2012, whatever it was, era didn't achieve as much as it probably could have achieved if guys had stayed healthy, but you got that group together. You won a championship. You pulled off the greatest draft trade in whatever history by dealing all those picks or getting all those picks from the Nets, and you rebuild the team that's been in 2 finals in 3 years and is well positioned to win another championship. Like, you got an A+ for ownership. And not only do you
stuck with Tatum and Brown.
You stuck with Tatum and Brown.
And you became the best owner in Boston by 2025, hands down.
Like, imagine if John Henry had sold the team 10 years ago. Like, what would we be thinking about John Henry now? Rather than stick around and watch this team slowly deteriorate, which it's going to eventually, right? Like, maybe it takes 3 years, maybe it takes 5 years, but it's eventually going to deteriorate to the point where we're going to look at them like we look at Milwaukee.
I was feeling good. What the hell?
We're going to be looking at them like we look at Milwaukee, though, at some point, right? Like, because they're just going to be so financially stretched that they've got to peel off some of these pieces, and they're not going to be as good as they are right now. If you're Wyc Grousbeck, you went out on top. And not only did you go out on top, you got the greatest exit strategy one could possibly have, which in the form of $6 billion, you can take your cut of and do something else. Like, you've proven you are a great NBA owner. You accomplished it. You can go on. You're still relatively young. I mean, you can go on and do the next thing if you really wanted to in professional sports.
Yeah, I would say he was one of the most successful sports owners of this century.
I'd agree.
He took a team that was had really no assets other than Pierce and no cap space, and was able to rebuild it. It's the Pags piece of it. He didn't get the Nets.
Pags piece.
Well, he didn't get the Nets. He ran for governor, didn't get that, and then everyone thought he was getting the Celtics, and he didn't get that. He has the Italian soccer team, but he's got to be dying today, just dying. But I think we all felt like this was probably coming. Like, I had hit a point where I wouldn't have bet on him. And I think a lot of people, but the thing that I'm going to be interested to see if it floats out over the next couple of days is, did he have any chance? Had this turned into a situation where they were like, we're just not selling to this guy?
That's the next story is, the
next story to figure out.
Right. We talked about kind of the relationship between Wyc and Pags is not what it once was. It's like, how strained had that relationship become? Had it reached a toxic level to the point where Wyc Grousbeck was never going to be interested in selling the team to Pagliuca? Because that, I don't know, man, you don't release a statement like that unless you're really livid at how the whole thing played out.
Well, and he released a statement right after they put the team for sale, right? He got one up that day too, Pagliuca.
That day. I'm in. He was the first one to get in to all that. He made it clear from jump that he wanted to be the guy that bought this team and took over its stewardship. And within minutes after it being announced as being sold, he had a much stronger statement that went out there. Yeah, I think that's the next thing to figure out is, like, was this just about money? Like, the fact the Celtics could get a record $6.1 billion price and hey, if you can't meet it, you can't meet it, or was there more to it? Was the relationship between Wyc and Pags something that affected the sale of the team?
I would say yes. There's another piece with this expansion coming. That's now we've established the price, $6 billion if you want in, $12 billion. Teams split it 30 ways. That's $400 million in cash the owners get. They don't share with the players.
Mm-hmm.
So Chisholm is buying in here at 6.1. He knows he's getting $400 billion back over the next couple of years with this expansion fee. So it's really 5.7 because that's what Cuban forfeited. That's what the Grousbecks forfeited by selling now. You get that money that maybe goes to luxury tax. I was trying to walk my dad off the ledge this morning because my dad's just like, the Luka thing has spooked my dad. He was like, you can't say like the new Dallas owners, everything seemed great. And then they're trading Luka Doncic for AD and a first and Max Christie. Like, yeah, I'm worried we're going to do something stupid now. I knew what we had with Wyc. And it's hard to talk someone off the ledge on that.
I'm more worried though. Not worry is the wrong word. Like this year is going to play out how it's going to play out. I think the peeling off is going to be the Hausers. It's going to be maybe even a Derek White. The guys that you have ready-made replacements on the roster.
Derek White, what are you doing to me?
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I would say this though. I think that this team right now, as currently constructed, is only protected by championships. Like you win a championship this summer, ownership's going to bring it back, right? You're not going to blow up a team that has a chance to win.
You're not trading Jaylen Brown to the wherever.
No chance. Or even
2 weeks after the title.
Or even someone like Derek White. Like I think Sam Hauser's probably gone. Like the second he signed that contract, when you looked at what the other contracts are going to be, like I was like, there's no way Sam Hauser.
See, I was more worried about Drew. Because Drew's like low 30s and the right team that wants a vet, and you think you're the Celts and you're like, this is kind of a luxury to have a guy like this. Those are it's in that White Holiday grouping that could be the first to go, unless I hope they keep Tatum and Brown together forever. And I love having those guys as a combo. And I think historically they have a chance to be something really special. Just two guys playing together their whole careers like that, one draft apart, winning titles. Like that's how many pairings have done that. Like, and how many pairings have fallen apart before they got to that point. So, but if you're paying $130 million a year for two guys, it's almost impossible.
Yeah. I'm not concerned that something like breaking them up is on the table. But again, I do think that you're going to see some guys whacked off the payroll. You saw Baylor go off the other night. Like Sam Hauser be watching that going like, all right, I'm out the door. Like that's right. If that guy can do what I was doing, like, I mean, that's that to me is what you're looking at in the years to come. Now, if it gets bad, like if they wind up getting beat in the second round, for some reason, not this year, but like next year, then I can see it slowly start to be taken apart. But for right now, it's more about the ancillary pieces and what you can replace them with. Like, look, they drafted Baylor and like, that was a surprise that they drafted him. They must have really believed in him because their payroll jumped a lot, because of the guaranteed money that comes with a first round pick. They obviously believe in him and watching him go off against, was it the Nets the other night? Like that, maybe they're justified in believing that he can be the cheap alternative to Sam Hauser and be your 7th, 8th, 9th man coming off your bench. Well,
the team's in a weird spot. They're stuck at second. You have Cleveland stuck at first and the Knicks probably stuck at third, and you have a month of the season left and all crappy teams for the most part on the schedule. And it's like let's try to keep everyone healthy. Let's try to give these guys the minutes. They're doing this interesting strategy with the best guys, Tatum and Brown. They either won't play them or they'll play them real minutes. They're not doing like play 25. Like they're either playing them a playoff game minutes or not playing them. And they have the luxury to do whatever they want and try to get Shireman and people like that going. I just think they're better than the Knicks, and that if they lost to the Knicks, that would be catastrophic because they've had their number all year and everything's heading toward this Cleveland series. And Cleveland's just lost 3 games in a row. And for the first time, it's the Russian is cut. It's just a little bit of that. And I just think they feel like if everyone's healthy and KP's in there, we're going to be in the finals again. It seems to be the attitude, right?
Yes, that's the attitude in Boston. I would also tell you that there's not overconfidence in the front office or the coaching staff in Cleveland either. Like I just finished this story on kind of on Evan Mobley, but on a bunch of young guys in the NBA that are potential difference makers in the playoffs. And talking to people in Cleveland, even though they're 2-2 against the Celtics during the regular season, and they played really well in Boston coming back to win that game, they recognize that they have not yet gotten the Celtics' best shot. Like, they haven't gotten that championship round haymaker, to make a boxing analogy. And they know that's coming. They have to figure out how they don't know yet how they respond to something like that. And look, the guy that worries them the most is Kristaps Porzingis, because look, they've got Evan Mobley, and Evan Mobley's been great all season long, but Evan Mobley does not play well against Kristaps Porzingis. You look at some of the numbers, they're not great. And that's a matchup that the Cavs know they have to dominate. Like, if it's a wash between Mobley and Porzingis, the Celtics win in 6. Like, they have to completely dominate that matchup between Mobley and Porzingis. And I'm not sure they're capable of doing that. I think Porzingis, when he's right, both ends of the floor is great. So I think in Cleveland, they're happy with what they've done. No doubt about that. They're surprised by a lot of things, but they're not sitting there going like, we're 10 games up on Boston. We're 10 games better. They know that a conference final series is a totally different animal.
Well, one other thing is they kind of blew the home court against OKC if they are able to get to the finals. They just lost that in 5 days.
Yeah.
They had a chance to basically control their own fate the whole way. And now OKC, and they'll turn it on. So from a Celtic standpoint, that's potentially looming down the road. I love the way Tatum's playing, and for me, I just want to know who's on the team in round 2. Is KP there? Am I reading stories from people like you with like, KP, hopefully in game 3 he'll be back. Like, if we're going down that road, I think it's gonna be really hard to win. Yeah. And then the West, who the F knows beyond OKC? I've changed my mind 20 times in the last week, even since we did the Sunday pod. Like, I don't know what to expect in the West. So we'll see what happens.
Can I just to put a button on the sale and the team? Yeah. Al Horford, I think, is the first big test, right? Like, Al Horford, his contract's up, right? At the end of this year, like, he's still invaluable, right? Like, the way he's playing, you got to bring him back. Like, how much are they willing to spend? Is it a no-brainer bring him back at a 2-year deal at kind of similar money as he made last time around, which is going to cost you a ton of money as well? Like, that to me is the first test of how much this ownership group is willing to spend on this team, because he's going to cost you something in real money over the course of a new deal.
Well, and there's been, if you look at the history of the team, there's been some Al Horford moments over the years where most of the time they've let the guy go and kept their fingers crossed. In this case, you could make a case he's the most beloved Celtic teammate that we've seen. I was trying to think. I was talking to somebody about this, about is anybody more loved by the people that play with him and coach him than Al Horford. Like, that Laker game was so fascinating when the Lakers were going at him and he started talking shit and Tatum was talking shit. And apparently there was just a lot of shit talking on both sides. And they kept going at Al. He's talking shit. And when he came out of that game, the bench went like crazy. They were so fired. They just absolutely love him. And I think that would be a really tough one to leave. That's not James Posey. We won a title with you. Oh, it would suck if you left. This is like, he's in the fabric. Tatum and Brown grew up with the dude, so that you're right. That's probably the first big test. My feeling is if you spend that amount of money on a team and you want to impress people in the city you grew up with, you're probably going to spend money the first couple of years. But we've seen these new owners come in and they're absolutely nuts. Here are my ideas. We're going to do this. We're going to zag when everybody's zigging. And it's like, oh boy, here we go.
They're still doing it. Like, Matt Ishbia did that ridiculous ESPN interview where he's talking about we're building around Devin Booker and he's the guy we're going to keep. Like, not to take this a different direction, but Devin Booker is too old to win a championship in Phoenix. Simple as that. Like, he's not too old to win a championship or lead a team to a championship. He's too old to lead that team to a championship.
Because that would be 5 years from now.
Yes, because he's aged. Next season's age 29 season next year. Like, now's the time now is the time to sell the Celtics as a franchise, to kind of bring these two together. Now is the time to sell the team. Now is the time to deal Devin Booker. If Houston comes a calling with all your draft capital, offering it back. If Oklahoma City calls and says, here's 3 or 4 players plus 3 or 4 draft picks, you are crazy if you're Phoenix and not doing that. That's some of the new owner craziness that's still out there in the league.
You think there's a new arena in 10 years?
Yes. Yes.
I do
First
too.
of all,
I don't see. We should have talked about that sooner. I don't see how you spend this kind of money, but then also don't build an arena.
There's also places you can build it. Like the Seaport's become cool again. Like it wasn't when, I was younger and probably not when you were younger back there, but now it's become like this cool place opposite Southie, and there's room to do stuff down there.
There's stuff near 93 that the place they were looking at for the Olympics. If you go back and read the Olympic stories from 2014, there's a specific spot like past where Emerson plays soccer and lacrosse, like when you're driving by going toward the Cape. There's this whole section that is the spot that they're going to make like the hub of the Olympics. And I feel like I think it's called like the rail yard or something. I think that's where the arena would go. That's really the only open spot that's in the city in the right way. Or it could be Seaport, but I mean, Seaport's already really hard to get to back and forth now. For putting 19,000 fans there would be a little rough.
They'd have to reinvent the T there and figure out, new stops that go into that area.
I would put it right on the other side of the hill in Charlestown. We're going right in the town, like 12,000 seat arena. Let's fucking go.
I mean, that would be...
We're taking our mojo back.
I would love to see it, but there's just no way. You're not buying this team and like renegotiating your lease for TD Garden, which already by NBA arena standards is old. It's bottom third in the league in terms of well,
there's another possibility of it too, where there's a second part of this where you try to buy the Jacobs side and the Bruins and the arena and try to own everything. Because if they leave that arena, the Bruins are screwed, right? Yeah. They have this 35-year-old. When was Fleet Center? 95,
I think it was. So my first year as a ball boy with the team was the first year.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So 30-year-old arena, and then you're going to lose your basketball team in 2005 years out. I don't see it.